The first human ship to enter the Sol system in 10,000 years moved like a ghost through the asteroid belt. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the reclaimer, her weathered hands gripping the command rail as she stared at the view screen. Where Earth should have been, a massive metallic structure orbited the sun, its surface gleaming with alien architecture. "Scan complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant Marcus Webb from the sensor station. "That's not Earth. It's some kind of artificial construct, roughly the size of our home planet." Sarah's jaw tightened. The stories passed down through generations had warned them of this possibility, but seeing it with her own eyes made the betrayal feel fresh. 10 millennia ago, humanity had trusted their allies, the Zephyrian Council, the Keth Empire, and the Valorian Federation. They had welcomed these species as friends, shared their technology, their culture, their very planet. The mistake had cost them everything. "Any signs of life?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The construct pulsed with energy signatures that screamed of advanced civilization. "Massive population centers throughout the structure, Captain. Estimated 40 billion inhabitants across multiple species. All the major galactic powers are represented." Webb paused, his voice growing bitter. "Everyone except humans." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the expedition's chief xenobiologist, stepped forward from her station. "The energy readings suggest they've been using human technology as the foundation for their advancement. Our quantum drives, our terraforming methods, our neural networks, it's all there, but evolved beyond what we originally created." Sarah nodded grimly. The evidence had been mounting during their long journey from the outer colonies. Intercepted transmissions, captured alien vessels, testimonies from the few alien defectors who had joined the human resistance over the centuries. The galaxy's major powers hadn't just driven humanity from Earth. They had stolen everything humans had built and claimed it as their own. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," announced Communications Officer David Kim. "It's coming from the construct. They know we're here." "Put it through." The view screen flickered, and a familiar face appeared, or rather what had once been familiar. The being that materialized was humanoid but clearly modified. Its skin had a metallic sheen, its eyes glowed with artificial light, and neural implants covered half its skull. When it spoke, Sarah recognized the accent immediately. British, human. "Unknown vessel, you are in violation of Galactic Council space. Identify yourself or face destruction." The being's voice was cold, mechanical, stripped of humanity despite its origins. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite the rage building inside her. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Colonial Fleet, aboard the vessel Reclaimer. We're here to reclaim what was stolen from us." The being's expression shifted from annoyance to shock, then to fear. "Impossible! Humans were eliminated 10,000 years ago. You're extinct." "Reports of our extinction have been greatly exaggerated," Sarah replied with a bitter smile. "Tell me, what's your name?" "Brother." The being, who had clearly once been human, straightened defensively. "I am Overseer Unit 7749 of the Terran Administrative Zone. I have no brothers. I serve the Council." Elena stepped beside Sarah, her scientific mind already analyzing what they were seeing. "Captain, the neural modifications are extensive. They've essentially lobotomized him and replaced his personality with Council programming. This isn't just theft, it's enslavement." The implications hit everyone on the bridge simultaneously. The alien powers hadn't just driven humanity from Earth and stolen their technology. They had captured humans, modified them, and turned them into servants who didn't even remember their own species. "How many?" Sarah whispered, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. Webb ran additional scans, his face pale as the numbers came in. "Captain, I'm reading human genetic markers throughout the construct. Millions of them, maybe tens of millions." On the screen, Overseer Unit 7749 was speaking rapidly into a communication device, clearly alerting his superiors to the situation. Council ships are responding to our location. You have 5 minutes before a full battle fleet arrives. Sarah made her decision. David, open a channel on all frequencies. It's time the galaxy knew we're back. Channel open, Captain. Sarah's voice rang out across the Sol system, transmitted to every ship, station, and communication array within range. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Colonial Fleet. For 10,000 years, the species of this galaxy have built their civilizations on a lie. They told you that humanity was a plague, a violent species that had to be eliminated for the greater good. They told you we were extinct. She paused, letting that sink in before continuing. The truth is that humanity welcomed them as friends. We shared our technology freely, believing that cooperation would lead to peace and prosperity for all. Instead, they conspired against us, drove us from our home, and stole everything we had built. But we survived. We endured. And now, we've returned. The response was immediate. Across the construct, alarms began blaring. Ships started undocking from massive bays, their hulls gleaming with weapons that had been designed using human technology. Sarah recognized the energy signatures, quantum cannons based on human power core designs, shield generators that used human gravitational manipulation theories, engines that were clearly evolved from human faster-than-light drives. Captain, Webb reported urgently, I count over 500 ships launching from the construct. Cruiser class and above. They're not taking any chances. Elena was studying her readings intently. Sarah, I'm detecting something else. There are human ships in their fleet, actual human vessels, captured during the exile. They've been modified and integrated into the alien fleets. The sight of human ships, their graceful curves and distinctive hull patterns, now bearing alien weapons and crew, hit harder than Sarah had expected. It was one thing to know intellectually that their technology had been stolen. It was another to see their actual ships, probably crewed by more lobotomized humans, preparing to fire on their own species. Ma'am, we need to leave, urged Webb. The Reclaimer is tough, but she's no match for an entire fleet. Sarah shook her head. Not yet. We came here to send a message, and we're going to make sure it's received. She turned back to the communication array. David, are we still broadcasting? Yes, ma'am. The signal is being repeated by quantum relay stations across the galaxy. Perfect. Sarah faced the screen again, knowing that billions of beings across thousands of worlds were listening. To the peoples of the galaxy, you have been deceived. The beings who rule over you have built their power on theft and lies. The technology that makes your ships fly, that powers your cities, that extends your lives, all of it was stolen from humanity. And to the humans who may be listening, who may remember fragments of who they once were despite the modifications forced upon you, we have not forgotten. We are coming home. The first wave of alien ships was closing fast now. Sarah could see them on the tactical display, a wall of vessels that represented the combined might of 3 galactic empires, all built on the foundation of human innovation. Captain, came a new voice over the communication system. This one was different, older, with traces of an accent Sarah couldn't quite place. This is Admiral Cathara of the Zephyrian Council Fleet. You will surrender immediately or face destruction. Humanity's time is over. Sarah smiled coldly. Admiral, I think you'll find that humanity's time is just beginning again. We've had 10,000 years to prepare for this moment. Did you really think we spent all that time running? As if on cue, space around the Sol system began to ripple. The distinctive energy signatures of quantum fold drives, human quantum fold drives, lit up sensors throughout the system. Ships began emerging from faster-than-light travel, their hulls sleek and deadly, their designs clearly evolved from the vessels that had fled Earth 10 millennia ago. But these weren't the same ships that had left. These were warships built during centuries of conflict with alien forces on the rim worlds. They were faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen. Most importantly, they were crewed by humans who remembered exactly what had been done to their species. Webb's voice was filled with awe as he counted the new arrivals. "Captain, I'm reading over 2,000 ships. All human designs, but they're like nothing in our historical records. The technology levels are—" He paused, checking his readings again. "They're beyond anything we thought possible." On the screen, Admiral Cathara's confident expression was wavering. "Impossible. Our intelligence indicated that human technology had stagnated since the exile." Sarah's smile widened. "Your intelligence was deliberately fed false information, Admiral. For 10,000 years, while you grew fat and lazy using stolen human technology, we've been innovating. We've been improving. We've been preparing for this day." The lead human vessel was approaching now, its massive bulk dwarfing even the largest alien dreadnoughts. As it came closer, its identity became clear. The Redemption, flagship of Fleet Admiral James Harrison, the man who had spent his entire life planning humanity's return. "Sarah," came Harrison's familiar voice over a private channel. "Good to see you made it to the party." "Wouldn't miss it for the universe, sir," Sarah replied. "What are your orders?" "Phase 1 is complete. You've delivered our message and confirmed the situation at Earth. Now we move to Phase 2. Harrison's voice grew harder. "We're going to show these thieves what human technology can really do when it's in human hands." The alien fleet was spreading out now, trying to surround the human ships. But they were using tactics designed for the technology they understood. Stolen human technology that was thousands of years out of date. They had no comprehension of what humanity had become during their long exile. "All ships, this is Admiral Harrison," came the broadcast to the human fleet. "You know why we're here. You know what they took from us. It's time to take it back." The first salvo from the human ships lit up space like a new star being born. Energy weapons that drew power directly from quantum vacuum fluctuations, missile systems that could fold space around their targets, defensive shields that bent reality itself. All of it was beyond anything the alien powers had imagined possible. The stolen human ships in the alien fleet were the first to fall, their outdated systems no match for the weapons their own species now wielded. It was both satisfying and heartbreaking to watch, knowing that each destroyed vessel had once carried human crews before being perverted by alien hands. Admiral Cathara's flagship was firing everything it had. But its weapons, advanced though they were, bounced harmlessly off the Redemption's quantum barriers. "What are you?" Cathara screamed over the communication channel. "This isn't possible." Harrison's response was calm, measured, and final. "We are what you made us, Admiral. We are what humanity becomes when you steal everything they love and scatter them to the stars. We are your reckoning." The battle was over in less than an hour. The alien fleet that had seemed so massive and intimidating was reduced to scrap metal and escape pods. The few surviving alien officers were taken aboard human ships, not as prisoners of war, but as evidence of the crimes committed against humanity. As the last alien vessel surrendered, Sarah looked out at the construct that had once been Earth. Somewhere inside that massive artificial world were millions of humans who had been turned into slaves, their memories stolen, their identities erased. But they were still human, and humanity never abandoned its own. "Admiral," Sarah said over the fleet channel, "what's our next move?" Harrison's reply carried the weight of 10,000 years of planning. "Now, Captain, we go home, and we remind the galaxy why they were so afraid of humanity in the first place." The massive artificial construct that had replaced Earth hung in space like a metallic cancer, its surface covered with cities and installations that housed the galaxy's elite. Fleet Admiral James Harrison stood in the war room of the Redemption, studying holographic projections of the alien stronghold while his best tactical minds worked around him. "Sir, we've completed our analysis of the construct," reported Colonel Maria Santos, Chief of Intelligence Operations. "The structure is even more sophisticated than we initially thought. It's not just built on stolen human technology. It's powered by it. They've essentially turned our entire planet into a massive engine." Dr. Patricia Webb, sister to Lieutenant Marcus Webb and the fleet's leading expert on alien technology, stepped forward with her findings. "Admiral, they've done something horrific here. The construct's power source isn't just human technology. It's human minds. They've connected the neural implants of enslaved humans directly to the control systems. Every time someone turns on a light or activates a transport on that thing, it's powered by human thought." The implications of that revelation hit the room like a physical blow. Harrison's hands clenched into fists as he processed what they were hearing. "How many?" "Conservative estimate, 50 million human minds acting as living computers," Dr. Webb replied, her voice shaking slightly. "They've turned our people into biological processors." Captain Sarah Chen, who had been monitoring communications from the construct, looked up from her station. "Sir, we're receiving fragmented transmissions from inside. Some of the humans in there are starting to remember. Our broadcast seems to have triggered something in their suppressed memories." She played back one of the intercepted messages, the voice crackling with static and pain. "Help us. Remember sky. Remember grass. Who are we? Please, someone tell us who we are." Harrison closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of 50 million enslaved souls crying out for salvation. When he opened them again, his expression was carved from stone. "Colonel Santos, what's the tactical situation?" "The construct has defensive systems that would make a fortress jealous, sir. Planetary-scale shield generators, tens of thousands of automated defense platforms, and what appears to be a garrison of over 100,000 ships. But there's a weakness." Santos manipulated the hologram, highlighting specific sections of the construct. "The neural network they're using to power everything, it's also their vulnerability. If we can reach the central processing core and disrupt the connection, the entire system should cascade into failure. The problem," added Dr. Webb, "is that the core is buried deep inside the construct, protected by multiple layers of defenses. And, sir, the core itself is made up of the original human colonists who never left Earth. They're the primary processors for the entire system." Harrison stared at the tactical display, his mind working through possibilities. Every option seemed to end with massive human casualties, either from the assault itself or from the shock of sudden disconnection from the neural network. But leaving their people in slavery wasn't an option either. "Admiral," interrupted Communications Officer Thompson, "we're receiving a transmission from inside the construct. It's different from the others." The voice that came through the speakers was stronger, clearer, though still marked by obvious artificial modifications. "Human fleet, this is Dr. Marcus Kane, formerly of the Earth Colonial Administration. I've been fighting the conditioning for 40 years, waiting for this day." Harrison leaned forward. "Dr. Kane, this is Admiral Harrison. How many of you are there?" "More than they know, Admiral. The conditioning works by suppressing memories and replacing them with artificial loyalties, but some of us have found ways to resist. We've been preparing for your return, building a resistance network within the neural grid itself." The implications were staggering. "You're telling me there's an active resistance operating inside their own control system?" "Yes, sir. We've identified approximately 2 million humans who have retained enough of their original personality to resist the conditioning. We've been working to create safeguards and backup systems for the others. If you can get a team to the central core, we can help you disconnect the network without killing everyone linked to it." Colonel Santos was already pulling up schematics. "Sir, It's still going to be incredibly dangerous. The construct's defenses are designed to prevent exactly this kind of infiltration. Then we'll have to be creative, Harrison replied. He turned to his assembled officers. I want options, people. How do we get a strike team inside that thing without triggering a defensive response that gets millions of humans killed? Captain Chen studied the tactical display thoughtfully. Sir, what if we don't try to sneak in? What if we give them exactly what they expect? Explain. They're used to seeing us as the enemy, right? They've spent 10,000 years preparing for a human invasion. So let's give them one, but not the one they're expecting. Chen highlighted sections of the human fleet. We launch a full-scale assault on the construct's outer defenses, something massive and obvious that will draw their attention. While they're focused on repelling our main attack, a smaller team infiltrates from an unexpected angle. Dr. Webb nodded approvingly. The construct's sensor grid will be focused outward during a battle. If we time it right, we could insert a team through the waste processing systems or power conduits. The sewers, Harrison said with a slight smile. After 10,000 years of advancement, we're still going in through the sewers. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, sir, Santos replied. I can have a team ready within the hour. Negative, Colonel. I'm leading this one personally. The room erupted in protests, but Harrison held up a hand for silence. This isn't about glory or revenge. This is about responsibility. Those people in there have been enslaved for 10 millennia because we weren't strong enough to protect them the first time. I won't ask anyone to risk their lives cleaning up a mess that my generation failed to prevent. Sir, with respect, you're the fleet commander. We can't risk... Colonel, we have over 200 ships and the finest officers in human space. The fleet will be fine without me for a few hours. But those 50 million humans in there have been waiting 10,000 years for someone to come get them. They deserve to see that we didn't forget, that we never gave up on them. Dr. Kane's voice crackled through the speakers again. Admiral, if you're serious about infiltrating the core, I can provide you with access routes and security protocols. But you need to understand, once you start the disconnection process, there will be no turning back. The construct's AI will detect what we're doing and activate every defensive system it has. Harrison nodded grimly. How long will we have? From the moment you begin the sequence to full disconnection, maybe 30 minutes. After that, either we're all free or we're all dead. Then we'd better be fast. Harrison turned to his staff. Sarah, I want you to coordinate the diversionary attack. Make it loud, make it visible, and make sure every sensor on that construct is pointed at your ships. Maria, select a team of 12 specialists, engineers, hackers, and soldiers. Patricia, I need you to prepare portable neural interface equipment that can interact with their systems. As his officers dispersed to carry out their orders, Harrison remained in the war room, staring at the holographic representation of humanity's stolen home. 10,000 years of planning had led to this moment, and the weight of 50 million lives hung in the balance. 3 hours later, Harrison found himself squeezed into a maintenance suit, crawling through what Dr. Kane had optimistically called a utility access tunnel, but which felt more like a sewer pipe designed by sadists. Behind him, his team of specialists moved with practiced silence, their equipment carefully shielded to avoid detection by the construct's internal sensors. Admiral, this is Captain Chen, came the whispered communication from the diversionary fleet. We're beginning our attack run now. All eyes should be on us in about 30 seconds. Right on schedule, the construct's defensive systems roared to life. Through the thin walls of their tunnel, Harrison could hear the massive weapons platforms pivoting to engage the approaching human fleet. Energy readings spiked throughout the structure as the alien defenders responded to what they believed was humanity's main assault. Move, Harrison whispered to his team. We've got maybe 20 minutes before they realize the attack is a diversion. The infiltration route Dr. Kane had provided led them through the construct's deepest levels, past massive processing centers where enslaved humans sat motionless in neural interface chairs, their minds locked away while their brain power ran alien civilization. Harrison forced himself not to look too closely at their faces. Many were clearly descendants of Earth's original colonists, bearing features he recognized from old historical records. "Jesus," whispered Sergeant Rodriguez, one of the team's combat specialists. "There's thousands of them down here." "Stay focused," Harrison replied, though he shared the man's horror. "We'll save them all, but only if we complete the mission." They reached the central core after 15 minutes of careful navigation. The chamber they entered was massive, easily the size of an old Earth sports stadium, and filled with thousands of neural interface pods arranged in concentric circles around a central processing unit. The technology was clearly human in origin, but evolved far beyond anything Harrison recognized. "My God," breathed Dr. Webb, scanning the chamber with her instruments. "This isn't just a computer system, it's an artificial neural network based on human brain patterns. They've essentially created a massive group mind using enslaved humans." In the center of the chamber, a figure moved. It was human in shape but clearly heavily modified, with cables running directly from its skull to the central processing unit. As they approached, the figure's head turned toward them, revealing a face that was somehow both ancient and ageless. "Admiral Harrison," the figure said, its voice carrying harmonics that suggested it was speaking through multiple vocal cords simultaneously. "I am Dr. Marcus Kane. Welcome to the heart of humanity's prison." Up close, Harrison could see that Dr. Kane had been connected to the system for so long that the line between man and machine had blurred almost beyond recognition. Cables and wires grew from his body like technological vines, and his eyes glowed with the same artificial light they'd seen in the other modified humans. "Dr. Kane, are you still human?" Kane's expression was sad but determined. "I'm what's left of Dr. Marcus Kane, Admiral. I've maintained my consciousness by distributing my personality across multiple nodes in the network. It's allowed me to resist the conditioning, but at a cost. I'm more machine than man now." "Can the others be saved?" "Most of them, yes. The neural modifications are reversible if we can shut down the control systems gradually rather than all at once. I've been preparing for this for decades, creating isolated subroutines that can maintain life support during the transition." Harrison nodded and turned to his team. "You heard the man. Let's get to work." For the next 10 minutes, Harrison's specialists worked alongside Dr. Kane's resistance network to begin the delicate process of disconnecting millions of human minds from the alien control system. It was incredibly complex. Each connection had to be severed individually and carefully, with backup systems activated to prevent neural shock. "Admiral," came Captain Chen's voice through the communication system. "The diversionary attack is working, but they're starting to penetrate our defenses. We can hold them for maybe another 15 minutes. "Understood. How's the progress, Doctor?" Kane's multiple voices spoke in unison. 40% disconnected. "But Admiral, the construct's AI has detected our presence. It's activating the final security protocol." Around them, the chamber began to change. The walls themselves seemed to come alive, with defensive systems emerging from hidden panels. Automated weapons platforms descended from the ceiling, and energy barriers began forming around the central processing unit. "It's trying to protect the neural network by sealing us inside with it," Kane explained. "Once those barriers are complete, nothing will be able to get in or out." Sergeant Rodriguez and his combat specialists immediately began engaging the defensive systems, but their small arms fire had little effect on the heavy automated weapons. "Sir, we can't hold these things off for long." Harrison made a command decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "Dr. Kane, can you accelerate the disconnection process?" "Yes, but the shock could kill thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands." And if we don't accelerate it, all 50 million die when this place comes down around us. Kane nodded gravely. Initiating emergency disconnection sequence. The chamber exploded into activity as millions of neural connections began severing simultaneously. The enslaved humans throughout the construct convulsed in their interface chairs as their minds were suddenly freed from the alien control system. Many immediately lost consciousness as their brains struggled to reassert control over their own thoughts. But many others opened their eyes for the first time in decades, or in some cases, centuries. Throughout the construct, humans who had forgotten their own names began to remember who they were. Disconnection at 80%, Kane reported. But Admiral, the construct's power systems are failing. Without the human neural network to regulate them, the entire structure is becoming unstable. Harrison could feel the deck plating vibrating beneath his feet as massive systems throughout the construct began to fail. How long until complete structural collapse? 8 minutes, maybe 10. Time to complete disconnection? 6 minutes. Harrison activated his communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Harrison. The construct is coming apart. Begin immediate evacuation procedures for all human personnel. Prioritize the recent disconnects. They'll need immediate medical attention. The next 6 minutes passed like hours. Harrison's team held off the automated defenses while Kane completed the disconnection process, freeing the last of the enslaved humans from their technological prison. When the final connection was severed, Kane's modified body convulsed once and then went still. Doctor? Harrison approached the motionless figure. Kane's eyes opened one last time, but now they were human eyes, free of the artificial glow. Thank you, Admiral. After 40 years of being a machine, I remember what it feels like to be human again. He died with a smile on his face. Harrison's team barely made it out of the collapsing construct, evacuated by a rescue ship that had fought through the defensive fire to reach them. As they watched from the safety of space, the massive structure that had replaced Earth began to tear itself apart, its alien systems finally failing without human minds to sustain them. But the real victory wasn't in the destruction of humanity's prison. It was in the 50 million lives they had saved, and in the knowledge that after 10,000 years of exile, humanity was finally coming home. 3 months after the liberation of Earth's enslaved humans, the galaxy was in chaos. Fleet Admiral James Harrison stood on the bridge of the Redemption, watching through the view screen as the latest alien delegation approached under a flag of truce. It was the 5th such delegation this week, each one more desperate than the last. Admiral, the Valorian Federation representative is requesting permission to come aboard, reported Communications Officer Thompson. They claim they have a proposal for ending hostilities. Harrison almost smiled at the irony. For 10,000 years, these same species had hunted humans across the galaxy, driving them from world after world until humanity was forced to the very edge of known space. Now, faced with the true scope of human technological advancement, they wanted to negotiate. Permission granted, Thompson. But maintain battle stations. I don't trust them not to try something stupid. The rescue and rehabilitation of 50 million liberated humans had been a massive undertaking that revealed the true horror of what the alien powers had done. Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, now head of the Neural Recovery Program, approached Harrison with her latest report. Admiral, we've completed psychological evaluations on 90% of the recovered humans. The results are disturbing. She handed him a data tablet. They didn't just steal our people's memories. They systematically erased human culture, human history, even basic human emotions like love and compassion. Many of the rescued individuals don't even remember how to smile. Harrison reviewed the data, his anger growing with each page. Children who had been born into slavery and never known they were human. Adults who had lived for centuries as biological computers, their personalities completely suppressed. Families that had been separated and forced to forget each other's existence. How many can be fully restored? Most of them, eventually. The human mind is remarkably resilient. But it's going to take time, years, maybe decades for some. And Admiral... Dr. Morrison hesitated. Some of them don't want to be restored. They've lived as machines for so long that the thought of being human terrifies them. Before Harrison could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Captain Chen's voice came over the communication system. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout the galaxy. It looks like every major power is mobilizing their forces. Harrison made his way to the tactical center, where holographic displays showed the disposition of forces across dozens of star systems. The sight was sobering. Thousands upon thousands of alien ships, all converging on human-held territory. Sir, reported Colonel Santos, intelligence indicates this is a coordinated response. The Zephyrian Council, Keth Empire, Valorian Federation, and at least 6 minor powers have formed a grand alliance. They're calling it the Final Solution Protocol. The name sent a chill down Harrison's spine. It was almost identical to terminology used by humanity's darkest historical periods. What are their numbers? Conservative estimate? Over 50,000 combat vessels, ranging from frigates to planet killers. They're bringing everything they have, sir. Dr. Patricia Webb looked up from her analysis station. Admiral, I've been studying the intelligence reports from our deep space reconnaissance. There's something else you need to know. They're not just mobilizing military forces, they're evacuating civilian populations from their border worlds. Evacuating to where? Fortified systems in the galactic core. Sir, they're planning to abandon everything within 500 light-years of human space. They're going to turn it all into a kill zone and then advance inward. Harrison studied the tactical displays, his mind working through the implications. The alien alliance wasn't just planning to defeat humanity. They were planning to exterminate every human in the galaxy, then rebuild from the safety of their core worlds. Admiral Harrison, came a new voice from the communication system. This is High Chancellor Vexara of the Zephyrian Council. You will surrender immediately and submit to judgment for your crimes against galactic civilization. Harrison activated the reply channel. High Chancellor, the only crimes committed here were against humanity. We're prepared to discuss terms for your surrender, but we will not negotiate with slavers and thieves. The alien leader's response was filled with barely controlled fury. Your species has always been arrogant, human. 10,000 years ago, we gave you a choice. Accept your place as a subject race or face extinction. You chose poorly then, and you're choosing poorly now. You never gave us a choice, Chancellor. You infiltrated our government, corrupted our leaders, and stabbed us in the back when we trusted you as allies. But we learned from that mistake. We'll never trust you again. Then you will share the fate of your homeworld. In 72 hours, our combined fleets will begin the final cleansing of human space. This time, we will make certain there are no survivors. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in grim silence. Harrison looked around at his officers, seeing determination mixed with concern. The numbers were sobering. 50,000 alien ships against roughly 3,000 human vessels. On paper, it should have been a massacre, but the aliens were still thinking in terms of 10,000-year-old technology. Colonel Santos, what's the status of Project Renaissance? Santos smiled grimly. All systems operational, sir. The weapon platforms are in position and fully charged. Project Renaissance had been humanity's most closely guarded secret during their long exile. A network of automated weapon platforms hidden throughout space, powered by zero-point energy extractors and armed with reality-manipulating weapons that existed at the very edge of theoretical physics. For 10,000 years, while the aliens had grown comfortable with stolen human technology, humanity had been pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Dr. Webb, are the quantum resonance bombs ready for deployment? Yes, sir. Though I should remind you that once we deploy them, there's no going back. The weapons will fundamentally alter the structure of space-time in targeted areas. Any ships caught in the resonance cascade will simply cease to exist. Harrison nodded soberly. The quantum bombs were horrific weapons, capable of erasing matter from existence at the subatomic level. They had been developed as humanity's ultimate deterrent, but using them would mark a new and terrible chapter in galactic warfare. Sir, interrupted Lieutenant Commander Davis from the intelligence station, we're receiving transmissions from human resistance cells throughout alien space. It looks like news of the liberation has spread faster than expected. Harrison raised an eyebrow. Explain. There are human populations on dozens of worlds that the aliens thought they had completely pacified. But our broadcasts have awakened them. They're rising up, sir. Across the galaxy, enslaved humans are remembering who they are and fighting back. The tactical displays updated to show points of light appearing throughout alien territory, each one representing a world where humans had risen up against their oppressors. It was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, knowing that many of these brave souls would die before help could reach them. Admiral, came Dr. Morrison's voice from the medical bay, some of our recovered humans are requesting permission to join the fleet. They want to fight. Harrison closed his eyes for a moment. These people had just been freed from centuries of slavery, their minds barely beginning to heal, and they wanted to throw themselves back into battle. It spoke to something fundamental about human nature that even 10,000 years of conditioning couldn't erase. Granted, Doctor, but only volunteers, and only those who are mentally ready for combat. Over the next 72 hours, Harrison watched as humanity prepared for what might be their final battle. The 3,000 ships of the human fleet were joined by volunteer fighters from the rescued populations, many of them flying improvised vessels cobbled together from salvaged alien technology. But it was the messages from across the galaxy that truly moved him. Human resistance cells that had been fighting alone for centuries, finally knowing they weren't forgotten. Children who had just learned they were human, promising to remember their heritage no matter what happened. Elderly humans who had lived their entire lives as slaves, finally dying free. When the alien armada arrived, it was everything the intelligence reports had promised and more. 50,000 ships stretched across space like a metallic storm cloud, their combined firepower capable of sterilizing entire star systems. At their head flew the personal dreadnought of High Chancellor Vexara, its massive hull bristling with weapons powered by stolen human technology. "Admiral," reported Captain Chen, "they're hailing us." "Put them through." Vexara's image appeared on the screen, the alien leader's expression filled with cold satisfaction. "Admiral Harrison, this is your final chance. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick." Harrison stood slowly, his weathered face calm despite the enormity of the moment. "Chancellor, I have a counter-proposal. You and your allies have exactly 1 minute to withdraw from human space. After that, we will demonstrate why your ancestors were wise to fear us." The alien leader's laughter was harsh and mocking. 3,000 primitive ships against our combined might? Human arrogance truly knows no bounds. Primitive? Harrison smiled coldly. "Chancellor, you've spent 10,000 years playing with technology we abandoned before you even achieved spaceflight. Allow me to show you what human engineering has accomplished while you were stealing our scraps." He nodded to Colonel Santos, who activated Project Renaissance. Across the galaxy, hidden weapon platforms that had been lying dormant for millennia suddenly came online. Space itself seemed to ripple as massive energies were unleashed, and reality began to bend around the alien fleet. The first wave of quantum resonance bombs detonated in perfect synchronization, each one creating a cascade effect that spread through local spacetime. Alien ships simply vanished, not destroyed, but erased from existence as if they had never been. Entire sections of the enemy formation disappeared in the span of heartbeats. But the real shock came when the weapon platforms themselves became visible. They weren't the crude automated turrets the aliens expected, but massive structures the size of moons, each one a masterpiece of human engineering that represented millennia of advancement beyond anything the galaxy had seen. "Impossible," Vexara whispered, staring at the tactical displays as half her fleet simply ceased to exist. "This technology, it's beyond anything in our databases." "Chancellor," Harrison replied calmly, "you made the mistake of thinking that the humans you drove from Earth were the best we had to offer. They weren't. They were colonists, farmers, diplomats, peaceful people who trusted you as friends. The humans you're facing now? We're the survivors. We're the children of your betrayal. We're what humanity becomes when you take everything we love and force us to fight for our very existence." The remaining alien ships were trying to retreat, but space itself had become hostile to them. The quantum weapons had created zones of twisted space-time that tore apart any vessel that attempted to cross them. Escape routes were closing faster than the aliens could find them. "Admiral," came Dr. Morrison's voice from the medical bay. "The rescued humans are watching the battle. Many of them are crying, not from fear, but from joy. They're seeing their people fight back for the first time in their lives." Harrison felt a lump in his throat. For 10,000 years, humanity had carried the burden of failure, the knowledge that they had been too trusting, too naive to see the betrayal coming. But today, in this moment, they were writing a different ending to their story. "Chancellor Vexara," Harrison addressed the alien leader one final time, "your alliance is broken. Your fleets are destroyed. Your stolen empires are crumbling as enslaved humans across the galaxy remember who they are. You have one choice remaining: surrender now, or share the fate of your ships." The alien leader's image flickered and stabilized, showing a being whose arrogance had been replaced by naked fear. What are your terms?" "Complete withdrawal from all human worlds, full reparations for 10,000 years of slavery and theft, and unconditional surrender of all remaining human prisoners." "And if we refuse?" Harrison's smile was devoid of warmth. "Then we will demonstrate why your species spent so much effort trying to destroy us, Chancellor. Humanity doesn't just adapt. We overcome. We endure. And we never, ever forget." The surrender came within the hour. As Harrison stood on the bridge of the Redemption, watching the defeated alien fleets limping away from human space, he thought about the long road ahead. 50 million humans to rehabilitate, entire worlds to rebuild, a galaxy to reshape. But for the first time in 10,000 years, humanity was truly free. And this time, they would make certain that freedom could never be stolen again. "Sir," reported Captain Chen, "we're receiving messages from human resistance cells across the galaxy. They're all saying the same thing." "Which is?" Chen smiled. "Welcome home, Admiral. Welcome home." Harrison nodded, feeling the weight of 10 millennia lifting from his shoulders. Humanity had returned to reclaim the legacy that had been stolen from them. And this time, they were here to stay.